Welcome to Module 4 of our Baseball 5 webinar. In this module, we'll look at the documents necessary to conduct, control, record, and score the game, the lineup card and the scorecard. These are the two documents that the game officials will have to manage before, during, and after the game. The lineup card is initially filled out by the two teams and submitted before the game. The scorecard is completely managed by the table official. Here you see the official lineup card. As you've already seen in previous modules, the table official will collect the lineup card in advance of the game from both managers. This will take place somewhere between 15 and 90 minutes before the game, depending on the rules of the event. The table official has to immediately check and see that every box has been filled in properly by the managers, with the first and last names of the players, their gender, respecting the rule that says at least 2 players per gender are playing for every team, and their uniform numbers completely filled in. On the right side of the card, they must fill in the name of the competition, the location, and the date. In a tournament, the games have a number or a code, and this must be marked in the box above the name of the two teams. The last 3 boxes are for the team that has submitted the card, the name of the manager, and his or her signature. It's really simple. Normally, the WBSC cards have 3 copies made, one for the other team, one for the game officials, and one for the local organizing committee. Sometimes, though, you'll have to make at least 4 copies. It all depends on the stature of the event. Here you see the official scorecard. This document must be entirely filled in by the table official. On the left side, you fill in the names, genders, and uniform numbers for the players for both teams as they appear on the lineup cards submitted by their managers. On the right side, you fill in the boxes with the information of the competition, the location, the date, the game number, and the names of the two teams. And then down below, also on the right-hand side, you fill in the names of the officials, the home plate official, the 2 field officials, and the table official. While some WBSC sanctioned events may be officiated with 1 field official, as on this example of the scorecard, other WBSC official competitions, such as the Baseball5 World Cup or the Youth Olympic Games, will be conducted with a crew of 2 field officials, and there will be a different version of the scorecard to reflect that. Also on the right side, in between the competition information and the officials' information, we can see the table of contents, so to speak, or a key. Those are the different options you have to mark every play. We'll talk about that in great detail on the next few slides, and then watch a video where you see how it's put into action. Moving back to the left-hand side of the screen, you also see an example of a filled-in scorecard, properly done. You see the hits, runs, ends of innings, substitutions, all marked. And then on the very bottom line, you see the line score, inning by inning, with the final total of runs for each team. So for example, on this scorecard, the visiting team beat the home team by a final score of 4-2. And that example scoring may look confusing, but it's about to make a lot more sense as we look at the scoring mechanics. Before we start to read down the list, I just want to make a note that, same as the rule book, scoring in Baseball 5 is very different from scoring in baseball or softball. And while it might look confusing at first, it's actually much easier. In just a few minutes, you'll learn how to score using the actual scoring mechanics. However, just like we said about the rule book, some adjustments or changes could happen soon. So be sure to follow the WBSC website and the WBSC social media channels to stay updated as the rules and scoring mechanics for Baseball 5 continue to evolve. But here are the basics of scoring. If the batter is out, the table official marks an X. If the batter reaches first base, it is marked S1. If the batter reaches second base, it is marked S2. If the batter reaches third base, it is marked S3. Should the batter score, for example, on an inside the park home run, the table official simply marks a circle or an O. If the batter reached base due to a defensive error, the table official marks it with an E. And I want to make an important note here. In Baseball 5, an error is judged by the field officials only, who automatically award an extra base in real time. An error is not an interpretation by the table official. So you're never going to have any question after a play whether it was a hit or an error. The game officials, the field officials, will tell you right away if it's an error, and that way when you're keeping score, you just mark it immediately as an E instead of an S1 or an S2 or whatever the hit would be. But moving on to point 7, if a runner scores after reaching base safely, the table official will circle their related hit or error. So however they reached base, say they reached on an S2, and then when the next batter comes up, they end up scoring, the S2 remains, and then a circle is added to it. And you'll see this in action in just a few minutes. It's the same with an out, as you see in point number 8. If a runner is out, the table will circle the X. If the runner's out, the table will mark an X over the related S1, S2, or S3. The end of an offensive inning is marked with a horizontal line. And again, you just saw all these marks on the scorecard example a few slides back. Another situation to look at is substitutions. A substitution is marked with a vertical line, and the substitute's name and number shall be marked in the space below the name of the starting player. If or when the starting player ever re-enters the game, another vertical line shall be noted. At the end of the game, all the empty boxes must be filled in somehow. And you can again see the example of this a few slides back and also when we're done with our videos here in a few minutes. After all the boxes are filled in, the scorecard is then signed by all the officials on the back. The game's start time, end time, and final duration are noted on the back as well. If something else happens during the game that's noteworthy, an injury, an ejection, or anything else like that, it can all be written as notes on the back of the scorecard. You see at the bottom of this slide an additional note about extra innings. It's very simple. When extra innings occur, you just mark a T next to the S1, S2, or S3 on the runner that's placed on base, and the T stands for tiebreak. So those are the basics of the scoring mechanics, and now it's game time. We'll watch a Baseball 5 game to see the scoring system play by play. Now, this example game was played in Cuba 2 years ago, and since then, as we've noted, there have been quite a few changes. On this field, for example, you won't see lines marking the no-hit zone, and there's no safe area at first base. The changes that we've made since this event a few years ago have all been made to improve the game as it continues to evolve. But let's watch the video now, and after every play, you'll see the scorecard updated in real time. I won't say much, but I'll be a part of guiding you through it, so enjoy. Here we have the first inning of the game. And It's a game that begins with an error, marked with an E. We have another error, and you saw the first batter's score on the second batter's hit, so that was the circle. Now we have an out marked with an X, and it was a double play, so 2 X's are needed. And there's the final out of the inning at first base. That's marked with an X. And the underline signals the end of the inning. Now we're in the bottom of the first, and it begins with an S1, the batter safe at first. In this play, the batter's safe, so another S1, but the runner's out, so there's an X. And we repeat that process, and we're actually going to do it one more time. Fielder's choice out at second, batter's safe at first, S1. There's the out, and we mark a 0 down below. The score is 1-0. Moving on to the second inning now. The first play is an out at first base, close game, and you saw the good decisive call there by the umpire, or the field official, 0-1. You mark it with an X. Out number 2, marked with another X. And there the batter's safe on an error, marked with an E. There's the final out, which will be marked with an X and then a horizontal line underneath it to signal the end of the inning. We begin the bottom half of the second inning with an out. Very close play, but good hustle by the batter means he's safe, S1 at first. And the next batter will also be safe at first. Another S1. And here's a hit that scores a run. Everybody's safe. The batter winds up at second, so he'll be marked with an S2. And you circle the runner that scored. Another hit that scores a run. S1 for the batter. Circle the run. And there is a double play to end the inning. So there's the final X's. You mark the score, underline, and move on. To the third inning we go. Batter was out right away. Play over to first. In time. So there's 2 outs, both marked with X's. And the throw to first. And the batter is safe, so an S1 keeps the inning going. But there's the force out at second to end the inning. So that batter, that last batter, gets an S1. And there's the out, with an underline to signal the end of the inning. So we move to the bottom of the third now. First batter reaches safely, S1. You'll notice also when you get back to the score sheet, and That was a nifty double play. So 2 quick outs. You see how we've had to adjust the innings because more than 5 batters came to bat. So this is the 3rd inning, even though it's over in the 4th slot. And now the 3rd inning is over on that force out at second. No runs scored. We mark it and we move on to the 4th inning. And this video has been edited slightly, but it's basically being shown in real time. You get the really good understanding of how fast a game can move. There's 1 out, but the batter's going to be safe. So an S1 for the batter, but an X over the original runner. And now, do we have a double play? No double play, but the force out at second. So another S1 for the batter with an X over the runner. 2 outs now, and the inning ends on that force out at second base. So S1 for the batter, X. You put an underline where the inning ended, and down at the bottom, put a 0 because no runs were scored. And here we are in the bottom half of the 4th inning. S1 to start. Back-to-back S1s. And this, I believe, is going to be a pretty big inning in terms of scoring runs. Already the bases are loaded. No, sorry, the batter was out there. So 2nd and 3rd. And now a run has come in. So that was an S2 for the batter. 1 run scored. There's the circle. And there another run scored, even though the batter was out. Again, we're going to have to shift over into the next column with another S1 and another run. And now you see there's some confusion because the ball went over the fence. The field officials have to indicate whether a defensive player touched it. That's what they're indicating right there. So the batter is safe. If no defensive player had touched it and it went over the fence, the batter's out. But since the defense touched it, the batter's safe with an S1, and another run scores. As we told you, a very big inning. That was another S1, another run. So this is already 4 runs in the inning. And that is going to be the final play of the inning with a little friendly collision at second base to end it. So there's the X for the final out, followed by an underline, and then the 4 runs down at the bottom. A very big inning to bring us to the 5th and final inning of this example game. And the visiting team is trailing. So they need to score some runs to even force a bottom half of the 5th. Not off to a good start though. An X marks out number 1. That ball flew off the fence on the fly. That's going to be out number 2. And this, my friends, is the final out, or close to it. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. The game is extended a little further on an E, an error. And now maybe things are getting interesting. Here's the throw to the plate. And the out at home plate is what ends this game. So we mark that with an S1 for the batter, an X on the runner. And there you have it. Put up the 0, fill in the scorecard, and that is a completed scorecard on a 5-inning Baseball 5 complete game. Pretty neat. Certainly hope you enjoyed that. And we'll look at it here. This is the scorecard from the game that you just watched, now that it's been completed. And it's really nice that we can analyze this for just a minute. You see the final score down at the bottom. The home team won the game. Final score 6-1. Everything else you can see for yourself. But this is a full score, a fully completed scorecard of the game you just watched, filled and fully closed. For practice, we recommend that you watch the video again of the example game and try to score yourself on a clean scorecard. It's very good practice for scoring. But it's so simple. You see on the right-hand side of your screen, the only marks you'll ever have to make: X, S1, S2, S3, a circle, a horizontal line, a vertical line, and the E for error. So I know it's confusing. Everything's confusing at first, but you realize now that it's really much simpler than scoring a baseball or softball game. And when you're going back and watching the videos again and scorekeeping on your own, remember the rules have changed slightly. And for example, the error on the very first play of the game would actually today be marked as S1. But the scoring system is here to stay. And we certainly hope you've enjoyed this scoring tutorial, and we look forward to sharing more information with you in the next module.